you understand, they were Catholic initially. And then the Protestant Reformation, but the idea of the Church of England is very important, the Anglican Church. The point you're raising on, let's look at the black radical tradition. When did black people separate sacred and secular? Still have. So even as capitalist accumulation creates black capitalists, if you want to make all the money, it's one thing to make one song, then you make Jesus, wolf, and everybody goes there. Hey, what these Negroes, is it sacred? Is it secular? We can play it at the club? Yeah. Wow. Because the black radical tradition doesn't separate sacred and secular the same. You can be a hardcore capitalist and have people step into Jesus and they be in the club and it's all the European. Wait, what is this? Where is y'all's Protestant Reformation? Where is your Church of... No, that's all I'm saying. Because the British brought the Church of England and they said, okay. The Spanish and the Portuguese brought the Catholic Church, they said, okay. And Africans turned it all when we get to part 2. Look at it. Part 2, chapter 4. No. Part 2, chapter 5. What's the title of chapter 5? The Atlantic slave trade and what? African labor. What does that mean? Part 1, the Genoese bourgeoisie and the Asian discovery. That's Christopher Columbus. Now came and got us. Part 2, Genoese capital, the Atlantic and a legend. Columbus continues. Part 3, African labor is capital. Part 4, the legends of the world system. Part 5, the column marked British capitalism. Then when we do the economics, if you go back to page 90, I'm sorry. It's about time, ain't it? A little bitter about that, but I want to make sure. Wait a minute. Page, okay. Go back to page 67. The end of part 1. So James making the point or raising the question about the nature of the creation of these bourgeoisies or these classes. Here are the 4 moments that you have to understand in European racialism. 2 fell within European development, 2 that aren't. And here's where the 2 converge. Let's answer the question you raised a minute ago. The first, the racial ordering of European society from its formative period, which extends into the medieval and feudal ages as blood and racial beliefs and legends. Meaning what? The creation of the idea of Europe, ideology, that transcends race, that transcends time or faith, that create the idea of Europe. Number 2, the Islamic, such as Arab, Persian, Turkish, and African, domination of Mediterranean civilization, and the consequent retarding of European social and cultural life, the Dark Ages. Meaning what? When you read Dark Ages in world history books, what they're saying is that's the time the non-Europeans were there. It's not dark for the world, it's dark for Europe. We try to make our move when these Muslims came in, the Moors, for 700 years on the Iberian Peninsula. Yeah, they brought reading and writing. Yeah, they translated the Greek and Latin into languages we could use. But it's the Dark Ages for us. Number 3, the incorporation of African, Asians, and people of the New World in the world system emerging from late feudalism and merchant capitalism. Meaning what? We went and got them for labor and they transformed Europe yet again, requiring us to create the W word as it relates to them. What? Whiteness. Now we white because they are not. And then finally, the dialectic of colonialism, plantocratic slavery, and resistance from the 16th century forward to when? Now. To now. And the formation of industrial labor and labor reserve. Meaning what? Bring it all together. These systems, part 1, the system that Marxism attempts to describe. The modern world system. Part 2, the black radical tradition that comes out of the collision with this system and the interaction between it. Come together, but both of them share the fact that they are humanly created, they're created out of the context that they were created in, and that to understand the black radical tradition and to understand European or anything else, you've got to know the context and you've got to have some sense of the culture. If you don't, there's no one cookie-cutter mathematical formula that's going to be able to you to predict what's going to happen next. This thing is wide open. Our fate as Howard may be tied to the United States, but the fate of the people who work and live and study at Howard is not. And doesn't have to be, unless your imagination conflates your identity with this building. people move in local and global movements and interactions. The prompt question, state the central theses of Black Marxism and analyze their veracity. Use as your text everything including and up to the end of the introduction. The paper is due a week from today, which means we can talk more about this on Tuesday. I'm going to get on the Blackboard. For those who are on it, for those who are not, I have to send out the email and give you some more commentary. Melanie, you got this here. If you come sign, you got markers. I'm going to sign a couple of names on there myself. And then, is that it?
If you know anybody that died, gun violence,
yeah.
Put their name, write a tribute.
No.